A discrepancy between the numbers that the Ontario Liberal government presented to the public and what the Auditor General says those totals should be amounts to a difference of about $20 billion over the next 3 years. How could two views produce such dramatically different figures? Well, let's find out. From Wally Smieliauskas. He is a professor of accounting at the University of Toronto's Rotman School of Management and has by far the toughest name I've ever had to say on this program. But Wally, it's nice to have you here anyway.
Nice to be here.
Thank you. Let's just set this up with some numbers that we're going to share. You know these numbers already, but Sheldon, if you would, bring this graphic up. There is a discrepancy, as we pointed out. The Government of Ontario says that it delivered a small surplus at the end of fiscal year, the budget they just announced, a little over $600 million, but they are also forecasting multi-billion-dollar deficits over the years, in fact, over the next 7 years. However, the Auditor General says that the government's numbers are not a reasonable presentation of Ontario's finances, and that there was, in fact, an $11.7 billion deficit at the end of this fiscal year, that is what she projects, and that there will be $12 billion deficits in the 3 years after that. Let us try to understand this fight over numbers, shall we? Why are the government's numbers and the Auditor General's numbers so vastly different?
It's a difference of opinion. First, it's important to understand the auditor's task. It's to verify the numbers.
Which she has not done.
Which she has not done. And so therein we get the disagreement. And now we're getting a lot of press coverage and discussion about it. Why is there a difference? It gets back to the assumptions that are being made and some of the government accounting.
Okay, but there's a difference of opinion and a difference of opinion.
Yes.
This is a $20 billion difference of opinion.
Yes.
I mean, surely it's got to be more than that.
Well, you have to remember that a lot of this, and they make it clear in the reports, if you actually read the reports, they make lots of estimates. They make it, both make clear they're making lots of assumptions, and the numbers might not be true. In fact, the Auditor General concludes at the end of her most recent report, these numbers might not be realized.
Okay, let's see if we can.
She's qualified.
She's qualifying it. Let's see if we can break down why the difference of opinion in this case. Okay, the government's got its version. The Auditor General says your version's wrong. It is not reasonable. The two areas of massive disagreement, I gather, are over pensions and electricity prices, or electricity bookkeeping.
Yes.
So let's go through that. What accounts for the difference by a factor of billions of dollars as it relates to the bookkeeping around getting electricity prices lower?
Well, the government is using a novel form of, setting things up differently. They've created what's called a special purpose entity. You've probably heard that term. It's being used by a lot of companies. The company that began using it was Enron.
That's not good, Wally. We know what happened to Enron. That was a shell game.
When it's used legitimately, and it can better reflect what's going on if a company wants to finance certain kinds of activities, and then they want that entity to make special arrangements based on their particular business model, the overall parent company can save a lot of money, so they can create this special purpose entity to do that.
Let's see if I get this right, okay? The Government of Ontario wanted to lower our electricity prices because they were getting a tremendous amount of heat from the public about this. Right. So they went and they borrowed, I think, $19 billion or something like that to help subsidize the lower cost of electricity. But that money, those loans, are not on the books of the Government of Ontario. They're on the books of Ontario Power Generation.
Right.
And we'll have to pay back $40 billion decades down the road. So it's going to cost a lot to borrow that money. Mm-hmm. But the point is, it's not on the Government of Ontario's books.
Yes.
The auditor thinks that's no good.
Yes.
Who's right?
I would side with the auditor on this one because they are creating a special structure for no real reason.
Well,
other than to create a different accounting number.
The reason is to be able to say you've got a balanced budget.
Well, but that's not a good enough reason. You can't
structure. It isn't an election year.
The purpose of structuring things isn't to get a different accounting. If that's the only purpose, then there's no real underlying substance for it.
On this one, you're siding with the Auditor General.
Yes.
Okay, let's look at the other issue. The other issue was not just the subsidizing of electricity prices. The other issue is how to treat teachers' pensions. which is one of the biggest pools of money in the world right now, right? The size of the teacher pension plan.
Yes.
What's the nature of the disagreement between the two of them on that one?
There happens to be a surplus in one of the plans, and the government, a net surplus. Okay, there's a trustee of the plan somewhere holding all the assets and liabilities and making the disbursements and collections. The net position of that trustee is what's reported, normally reported by any entity, whether it's a business entity or a government entity. So the government is proposing to do it that way. That's a normal way of doing it.
But the government wants to be able to say that money, which they don't really have access to, do they?
No, they don't.
No, but they want to
can't
be
use
able
it.
to sort of claim that they do so that they can put it on their books as positive.
Well, you know, I guess you can think of it as saying, well, there's a surplus, we'll have to contribute less in the future.
And again, if I
yes,
asked
so-
you, on pain of death, okay, whose version of the truth do you believe here? What would you say on this one?
Well, there, you know, this is all based on actuaries, so that's the truth. There is a surplus. Now, the government doesn't have access to it because over time, you know, the reason they have a surplus is maybe markets perform better than they expected, or the government contributed more money, and whatever the reasons are, there's a surplus now, but it might not continue. It might get reversed depending on markets and depending on you know, government ability to finance the pension plan. So it's going to go up and down. So now it happens to be up. So everybody knows that that's the case with these pension plans. So I don't know why it's a big issue. It just happens to be an election year.
Well, that's the point, right? I mean, an election year, that's why these things
Yeah.
matter, because the government wants to be able to say, look what great stewards of the books we are, and the Auditor General is saying, well, not if you fudge it like that.
Well, the Auditor General should ask, well, what happened in the past? Did anybody raise it in the past when there was a surplus and the government put it you know, in their accounts for that year? I would hardly think this is the first time this has happened.
Auditors are also asked to do other things besides sign off on the state of the books. One of the other things that they're asked to do is go into various ministries and do what's called value for money audits.
Yes.
What are those?
They're evaluations of the performance of the various government activities or government organizations. And the auditor decides how to measure that performance. So let's look at some examples. One that was in the news many years ago was evaluating the performance of nursing home care in this province. So there were, and the auditor decided to compare government-run nursing homes with private-run nursing homes. And they picked a simple statistic. You know, they're not experts in healthcare or anything, so they try to pick something that. So they picked mortality rates, and it turned out to be much higher in the government-run ones. Now, they didn't give any, you know, this is where it gets back to the philosophy of the auditor. Is the auditor a watchdog that barks whenever they see something might be a problem? You know, if that's the purpose, well, then the auditor is serving the rule. If you want the auditor to just only find fraud or be like a bloodhound, look for things like Sherlock Holmes, I guess. That's a different matter. And
So the auditor is a dog either way. It just
it's
depends
a
what
dog
kind of dog
either,
you
yes, yeah, what kind of dog,
want
yes.
the auditor to be.
And most
I got it.
auditors view themselves as watchdogs.
I got it. Now, it seems to me, or it sounds like, when you ask for a value for money audit, you are asking the auditor to do more than just make a financial decision here. You're asking for kind of a, in some respects, she won't like my using this word, but a political evaluation of how well or not things are going. Is that fair to say?
I don't think so, because all that's happening is they report the facts. So like when they reported the nursing home death rates, nobody claimed that was wrong. The auditor just is acting like a watchdog, and then the owner is supposed to figure out, is there a real problem or not? In other words, the government, the legislature, should do the follow-up and decide if this represents a problem or not. And that's the philosophy I think the Auditor General tends to follow all over.
Who invented this whole value for money audit idea in the first place?
From my understanding, it was an auditor general in Ontario from back in 1970, and they convinced the auditor generals around Canada to amend the act. So there's an Auditor General's Act at the federal level from 1977, and that's the one I think that created it at the federal level, and then many provinces follow that.
So this whole idea started in Ontario,
In
Canada.
Ontario, yes.
Is it done anywhere else in the world?
Well, it's spreading. That's the interesting thing. This is an example of a type of auditing that other auditors notice. They notice the media impact, and auditors don't like to be ignored. Before then, auditors were ignored for 100 years because many of their audit reports were boring. All they would report, typical government accounting back then is, you would have a certain amount that's been budgeted, and all the auditor would report is whether the amount spent exceeded the amount budgeted or not. Not very exciting, right? No. So that's why they developed this value for money auditing. But since that time, also the financial reporting has evolved. And as you can see with the controversies now, the auditors are getting much more involved. Essentially, the government is adopting accounting principles from the private sector. That's what's been happening over time.
Well, Wally, thank you very much for that. I think we get this all a lot better now than we did before we got you in that chair. So thanks so much for coming in tonight.
Thank you.
That's Wally Smieliauskas, professor of accounting at the Rotman School of Management, U of T.
The Agenda with Steve Paikin is brought to you by the Chartered Professional Accountants of Ontario, helping businesses stay on the right side of change with strategic thinking, insightful decisions, and business leadership. Are you on the right side of change? Ask an Ontario CPA.